I have to say that when I first signed up for like joining an improv group or doing workshops with an improv group, I mean, when people typically hear improv, they think, whose line is it anyway, you know?
Yeah. Right.
And so I did too. And I went and had kind of a rude awakening in a lot of great ways. So I was pushed and pulled and yanked in a lot of different directions. And so there's kind of this, like, for me anyways, like almost this like amateur feel about slapstick and like getting a cheap laugh and that kind of thing. It's absolutely a part of it, and if it comes out in the moment and truly in the moment, I think that there's a lot that can be laughed at. But
noticed, having seen you several times,
Yeah.
I noticed the merging of the literal and the abstract, and I wouldn't call it so much abstract as poetic, you know, and I thought it worked really well. And I don't know if that's an evolutionary kind of conscious decision on your part to proceed in that direction. Regardless, it really worked tonight. It's probably one of the most, in that sense, it became, you know, strongest and you know, meaningful, whatever the word is. But I really appreciated it.
Great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It was part of our conversation that we had together as we were working the last week and a half. Of, you know, like especially like when the poetry in motion piece is what comes to mind, when Rhonda is saying some very literal things. She's putting words out there. And we as, Sean and I as dancers, as movers in that moment can choose, you know, we can either take on kind of very literal, you know, taking on that person or personality, or taking on, right, the poetry, the abstract, the metaphor of that feeling. And so it's always, you know, it's not, sometimes it does require, sometimes your body is just pulled into doing a pantomime where you're in it, you're very specific. But it doesn't have to always be that. So we're always like, you know, bursting through.
During the Bo and Ruby story, I can't remember, but I think it was Sean who was facing away from Amber. And neither of them were looking at each other, and there was no way. You guys were turned to completely opposite. You couldn't see each other. You absolutely couldn't see each other. There's no way. And yet you guys were moving, dissonant at the same time, kneeling and up, and it just was gorgeous because you guys were connected on some strange upper level that was dissonant and was utterly connected at the same time, and it was incredible to behold. Just incredible.
Yeah, art or artistry or however, you know, whatever level you're looking at, it has a lot of different strata. You know, there's the skill set that, you know, people bring in and they're able to work with each other, and then there's, you know, art. You know, there's contact improv. There's the contact part. That's kind of easy. But then there's no, I won't smell. Then there's then there's the contact. But then there's the improv. It's like, how do you make that into something that's evocative? You know, and I'm just the outsider watching all this stuff. But you know, how do you make that into something that says something to somebody? And then you take it to the next level, and it's like, we're representing a world, a worldview, and this can influence your worldview. And, you know, and at its greatest and highest state, you know, what we're all striving for is to be able to create a new world, you know, like a whole new reality that's like not just, oh, cool stuff that people do together, but like another way of looking at life and at the world. You know, that's a lofty thing to think about, but if, you know, that's what we're all striving for, and if we can do that, and if you can say, oh yeah, I'll play that game with you, you know.
Alligator Mouth is all about creating that shared consciousness so that we're in it with you. You know, you're in it with us. You know, it's part of the reason why we ask the question and use your words, and you know, and I've always done the programs with the questions, like you are saying you like. For that reason, to just kind of get like a little bit of a tweak going on, a little bit of a hook to hang information on before it starts.